Away. Okay, welcome everybody to the Sunday Zoom service for WUUC. Welcome to you if you are brand new to us or if you've been here for many years. Westside UU, we are a community of Unitarians, Universalists and friends who gather together to worship and help each other. And since this is a human service, I'll say that Universalists believe that everybody is saved through the grace of God and deserves to go to heaven. And Universalists believe that everybody deserves to come to a debate about whether or not there is a heaven, and if so, what the nature of it is. We have a couple of announcements today. So next week will be our animal blessing service, which will be held outside in the church grounds at 10 a.m. If you come in person and bring an animal, it should be on a leash or contained in some way. But we'll also continue on with the animal blessing into the Zoom coffee hour that starts at 10:30 after the service. So if you would like to bring and present your pet for blessing in the coffee hour, then you are very welcome to do that also. Do you have any other announcements for us, Wendy? Okay, thank you. In that case, I will ring our chime to bring us into our sacred time here. Oops. And we have our chalice lighting today. Ellen's going to light the chalice and I will read out the words. Today we have readings from 3 diverse theological sources. They're from Rumi, Reinhold Niebuhr and Groucho Marx. There are many ways to the divine. I have chosen the ways of song, dance and laughter. Humor is a prelude to faith, and laughter is the beginning of prayer. The only real laughter comes from despair. Okay,
well, thank you, Chris. So am I up?
You are. You're up.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so here we are in the midst of a worldwide pandemic. Times change about us faster than we can possibly process. The Western United States are being consumed by wildfire. The Southeast coast is bombarded regularly with tropical storms and hurricanes. The American people are more divided with racial strife and political ideologies than well, probably not than any other time in our history, but certainly terribly divided. Many of us are still grieving the loss of one of our country's great leaders. There are so many truly important and deeply serious topics that we need to be discussing. Why are we talking about humor this morning when the world is rushing toward hell in the proverbial handbasket? Elizabeth Gilbert, author of the book Eat, Pray, Love, told the following story several years ago on her Facebook page. She wrote, "Years ago, I was on the Midtown Crosstown bus in New York City in rush evening hour traffic in January in the sleeting wind and rain. Yeah, it sucked. The bus moved at a crawl and everyone on it seemed depressed. It would have been far faster to walk across town, but the weather was too god-awful to bear. Everyone was definitely hating their life that day. When we reached the 10th Avenue, the bus driver made a surprising announcement. He said, 'Ladies and gentlemen, we are now nearing the Hudson River. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. When you get off the bus, I'm going to hold out my hand. As you walk past me, I want you to drop your troubles into the palm of my hand. I'll take your troubles for you, and when I drive past the river, I'll throw them in. The reason I want to do this is you all seem like you've had a bad day, and I don't want you taking all your worries and sorrows home to your friends and families. Because they deserve better than that, don't they? So you just leave your troubles here with me to dispose of, and you all go have a wonderful night. The whole bus, the whole grumpy lot of us, broke into laughter. Some of us, myself included, might have even shed a tear or two. And one by one, as we filed off the bus, we dropped our troubles into the palm of this good man's hand, and we stepped off the bus with smiles on our faces. Well, obviously the problem with this little story is that as soon as they stepped off the bus, they were met with the same miserable weather, the same horrible traffic, the crowded streets, the same worries and sorrows that they had before they put them into his hand. So, what was the purpose? Just for a moment, that driver gave them the unexpected grace of a brief moment of reprieve. We hope that our time together today will bring us a similar experience. We began our chalice lighting with words from the Sufi poet Rumi. Sufism is that mystical Islamic belief which seeks divine truth through direct personal experience of God. And often this experience is made evident through music and dancing and laughter. Mullah Nasruddin was a Sufi philosopher known for his funny stories. And he probably lived in the 13th century in what is now Turkey. And he has become a favorite folk character throughout the Middle East. He's a holy fool. His stories tend to be illogical yet logical, bizarre yet normal, and simple yet profoundly wise. And I think Chris has one or two Nasruddin stories to share with us.
I do. I'm going to share a couple of these. I think that Reverend Carol will appreciate this one. One hot day, Nasruddin was taking it easy in the shade of a walnut tree. After a time, he started eyeing speculatively the huge pumpkins growing on the vines and the small walnuts growing on a majestic tree. Sometimes I just can't understand the ways of God, he mused. Just fancy letting tiny walnuts grow on such a majestic tree and huge pumpkins grow on delicate vines. Just then, a walnut snapped off, fell and smacked Mullah Nasruddin's bald head. He got up at once, lifting his hands and face to the heavens in supplication and said, "Oh my God, forgive my questioning ways. You are all wise. Where would I have been now if pumpkins grew on trees?" And here's another one, a good one for a church service. Once Nasruddin was invited to deliver a sermon. When he got on the pulpit, he asked, "Do you know what I'm going to say?" The audience replied, "No." So he announced, "I have no desire to speak to people who don't even know what I'm going to be talking about," and left. The people felt embarrassed and called him back the next day. This time, when he asked them the same question, the people replied, "Yes." So Nasruddin said, "Well, since you already know what I'm going to say, I won't waste any more of your time," and left. Now the people were really perplexed. They decided to try one more time and once again invited the mullah to speak the following week. Once again, he asked the same question. "Do you know what I'm going to say?" Now the people were prepared. So half of them answered yes, while the other half replied no. So Nasruddin said, "Let the half who know what I'm going to say tell it to the half who don't," and left.
Thank you, Chris. That sounds quite a bit like I can see a UU congregation dealing with an issue that way. As Unitarian Universalists, we often struggle to articulate our religious identity, sometimes hampered by the myths and the half-truths that abound about us. These myths and half-truths give rise to lots of UU jokes, some funny, some not so funny. Sometimes these jokes play on well-known traits of our UU faith, and sometimes on traits we find in our congregation. And some are caricatures that make us uncomfortable. But I think it's always good to be reminded not to take ourselves too seriously. That well-known philosopher Anonymous once said, "Blessed are they who can laugh at themselves, for they shall never cease to be amused." Most of us are aware that an internet search yields hundreds, if not thousands, of UU jokes, many of which we've all heard repeatedly. But Chris and I have tried to glean a few that are either the very best and deserve repeating, or, maybe we hope, well, maybe there's one in here you haven't heard before. So we'll just have a few that we're going to share with you. This first one is a favorite of mine, actually, because I really do love what it says about us. And I remember when we did a humor service last year, Linda mentioned this one, Linda Fippen, and we agreed that we really liked it. What is a Unitarian Universalist? Chris, can you tell us?
Someone who believes in life before death.
What are the Unitarian Universalist sacraments?
Doubt, argument, and voting.
And what's the definition of UU diversity?
4 colors of Priuses in the church parking lot.
And why did the UU cross the road?
To support the chicken in its search for its own path.
It seems that children in a UU church school class were drawing pictures. And the teacher asked one, "What are you drawing a picture of?" "I'm drawing a picture of God," was the reply. "Nobody knows what God looks like," objected the teacher. "They will," said the child, "in just a minute."
Unitarian Universalist was out in his boat fishing when suddenly the Loch Ness Monster rose up out of the lake and attacked his boat. The Loch Ness Monster grabbed the bow of the boat in its huge mouth, flipped the UU way up into the air, and opened its mouth wide, preparing to catch the guy in its mouth and eat him. As the Unitarian Universalist fell towards the huge gaping mouth filled with sharp teeth, without thinking, he said, "Oh my God, help me." Suddenly time froze as the guy hung in midair and a huge voice boomed out, "I thought you didn't believe in a personal God on whom you could call in times of crisis." "Hey, give me a break," said the UU. "A minute ago, I didn't believe in the Loch Ness Monster either."
I like that one. So a fundamentalist Christian asserted to a UU, "I hear you deny the divinity of Christ." "That's untrue," said the UU. "We don't deny the divinity of anyone."
The Reverend Thomas Starr King is credited with describing the difference between Universalists and Unitarians back in the 19th century. Universalists believe that God is too good to damn men. Unitarians believe that man is too good to be damned.
A group of UU children were trying to determine the sex of a rabbit. Finally, one child said, "There's only one way to decide. Let's take a vote on it." Obviously, that kid had not had our owl training yet.
Author Kurt Vonnegut, who was in fact a Unitarian, wrote, "Laughter and tears are both responses to frustration and exhaustion. I myself prefer to laugh since there is less clearing up to do afterwards." Needless to say, COVID-19 has presented us all with more than our fair share of frustration and exhaustion. You only have to scroll through your Facebook feed to find an abundance of pandemic humor. For example,
For the first time in history, we can save the human race by lying in front of the TV and doing nothing. Let's not screw it up.
there are so many coronavirus jokes out there. It's a pandemic. I know, awful.
This is day 121 at home, and the dog is looking at me like, see, this is why I chew on the furniture.
If the year 2020 were a drink, it would be colonoscopy prep. Yeah, thanks for that one, Ellen.
Well, my husband recently had a colonoscopy, so that one really struck home around here. So I hope you found a few chuckles and a little bit of lightheartedness in some of those. In a few minutes, we'll move on to our coffee time, and hopefully these moments of silly jokes have brought you a brief reprieve from your daily burdens. And if you thought of a favorite joke, or pandemic or just otherwise, keep it in mind until coffee time and share it with us if you'd like to. That would be great. At Westside, I feel that we regularly find the sacred in our shared time together, whether we are working or playing or laughing or grieving. So let's keep in mind these words from comedian Victor Borga, who said, "Laughter is the shortest distance between two people." And at this time, I will extinguish our chalice while Chris has our closing words.
Though we extinguish this chalice, may the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment go with you until we are together again. Go in peace.